Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. I'm kidding. Hello everybody and welcome back to Lilith's Attic. My name is Julia Pasqua, and if you haven't guessed it already by all of my shenanigans at the beginning of this video, this week our card is Death. Seems more intimidating than it is. So when I flipped the page and I saw we were on card 13, which meant we were on the Death card, that can always be a little bit intimidating. And I mean, look at it. However, in my research, the first thing that you read about the Death card is the Death card is very misunderstood and should not be feared. I have a question. How is this supposed to not be feared? Like, if you pulled this card and you had no idea what it meant, tell me you wouldn't be scared of what might happen in your life. Like, if you pull the Death card, it does not mean you're dying. It does not mean that someone around you is dying. It can mean that there has been a death or will be a death, but that's not typically the meaning of the card. The card usually means that it is a death of something in your life. So life is full of a constant death and rebirth. Things die off in our life and then we transition and we have ourselves born again into a different sense of ourselves. So death doesn't always have to be the physical essence of death. It's not just like dead, you know. It can be death of a career. It can mean that something that you used to do, you're no longer going to be doing. It can be death of a relationship. It can be death of kind of a spiritual pattern that you are stuck in, or something that you are trying to break pattern-wise. So it doesn't always just mean like you did. Now, as you can see on the card, these people did. So didn't work out so well for them. The child who is begging Death not to trample him with his horse is supposed to represent the youthfulness in the rebirth of what can come next. The man who had not so good luck, who has been trampled by Death's horse, is supposed to resemble the nobility in new beginnings. And then you see Death riding in on a white horse. Within the four horsemen of the apocalypse, Death is supposed to ride in on a pale horse. So as you can see, he's pictured here riding in on his white horse, bringing death. So that brings me to, if you pull this card in reverse, it can mean that you are fighting death, essentially. You are not letting go of something that has died off in your life that you need to let go so you can be in this rebirth of it. So you can be holding on to something that is holding you back, essentially. It's here, it's knocking on your door, and new beginnings are happening. So huzzah. All right, you guys, please, let's go redo this card. Jesus Christ, like, I can't. This one just needs a makeover. Okay, let's go. Come on, let's go do it. All right, let's put a little bit more happiness in the Death card, shall we? I think we need to. For my Death card, I wanted to focus more on the Mexican traditional holiday, the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. I have people very close to me in my life who are from Mexico, and they taught me all about Day of the Dead, especially while I was mourning. I had a lot of deaths in my family and with close friends and people around me, kind of like back to back to back to back. I was dealing with a lot of mourning and a lot of grief and a lot of pain with the loss that I was having. So they were teaching me all about Day of the Dead as a way to cope and to celebrate those who have passed on. So as a better perspective on death, I'm going to focus more on the Day of the Dead. And even though we are letting these things go in our life to move on to better things, we can still celebrate that they were here. We're not clinging to them and holding on to them and not letting them go, because I think that's how we make ghosts, right? It's like they won't move on to the next life. So it's not that we're holding them here and we're saying, please don't leave, but we're celebrating the fact that they were here so we can learn and we can move forward into this new life that death is bringing us. I wanted my card to take place in a graveyard as, one, it's a very iconic scene to think about death, you know, graveyard, death kind of goes hand in hand. I wanted my Death card to take place in a graveyard. I wanted to have the marigolds draped across the main grave, as that is the main flower in the Day of the Dead celebration. The smell is supposed to help guide the dead over so they can come and visit. If you don't know much about Day of the Dead, we build ofrendas, which have pictures of family members who have passed away, friends who passed away, and that way they can come over and watch over us. It's the one night a year that the death can come back and hang out, check on the living members of the family. So I want to have the marigolds draped across the grave. I put a little saying on the grave, "O Death," which is a song, and I don't know if, you know, I'm a nerd. If you don't expect me to sprinkle some nerds somewhere in here, you are dead wrong, but pun intended. But in Supernatural, when death arrives, because the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are in Supernatural, don't think that's a spoiler alert by now, but when death arrives, the song "Oh Death" is playing in the background, and it's one of the most epic entrances of a character on a TV show I think that ever happened in life. So I wanted to have the "Oh Death" saga on the grave. And I wanted to have a candle on the bottom of the grave, which is also a part of the ofrenda, which helps with the light to guide the spirits over. Then also a part of Mexican culture is a deity that I have been reading up on, whose name is Santa Muerte. It's Spanish for Our Lady of Holy Death, but is shortened to Santa Muerte. And she is a female deity in folk Catholicism and in Mexican neo-paganism. But she is a symbol of the afterlife. She can tend to be seen as 3 separate colors too, or 3 separate versions, a white, a black, and a red, which shows kind of the 3 different sides of death too, which I think can be very beautiful for this card. Now, she is not normally at all ever pictured here naked, especially because it's a Catholic god or deity. Maybe I should have covered her up a little bit better, but it's more of the idea of Santa Muerte that there can be these 3 different personifications of what death is versus this figure actually being Santa Muerte. So we're gonna call that a loophole on that one. I wanted to have that female figure, that female energy, as that female energy has been linked to the death figure before in different cultures, and I wanted to link it here now. One, because I'm big on my feminine energy, and I thought it would bring kind of an extra element to this card of comfort. She is draped over the grave. You can also probably see it as versus like the deity, just a visitor from the past, a spirit from the past who is coming by to be over her grave, to visit with the family, to hang out, and not intimidating like trampling children like the past death card, more of a calm, serene, relaxed state over the grave, that death doesn't have to be this horrible thing. It can be the part of new beginnings, and we shouldn't fear those new beginnings. We shouldn't run away from them. We shouldn't be in denial of them. We should just drape ourselves over luxuriously, take a breath, hang out, and celebrate the things that we had. Oh, death. All right, you guys, we made it through the death card, and the earth didn't shake. I think we're doing okay. So like I said, we still have Devil and Tower card coming up, so we're not through yet. But the tarot card deck is all about learning and growing as a person, and sometimes those ways to grow and those things we have to learn are not easy. So this happens to be one of those things. This week, if you're going through those heavy things, if you are grieving something that is dead, if you are closing a chapter of your life and opening a new one, remember, don't fear it. Look at it with a new perspective. Welcome it in, and be excited for a new chapter, and be thankful for the ones that used to be. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Please remember, like, subscribe, everything, all of that below. Leave a comment, say hi. If you haven't already and you want to, there is a link in the description box below to sign up for pre-order for these tarot cards. I'm getting a lot of people who are coming into my booth now and asking where the tarot cards are or when they can be purchased, even just singularly. So I have a few product ideas floating around my head, and prints will be available very, very soon. So I have some bigger shows coming up. I've kind of been waiting to inventory dump and inventory prep until those shows are getting closer. So that is why I haven't made new prints yet, but we are getting there, I promise. Thank you all always so much for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you so very much. And the people who are here every week, it's not just a part of my week, I'm a part of your week, and that means so much more to me than I can ever explain. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great week, guys. I will see you next Tuesday. Mwah. Bye. Oh, death, no. Damn, spare me along for another year. Oh, 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 damn.